Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump just went absolutely scorched earth on China, the CCP, and Chinese President Xi Jinping just got caught in a very curious hot mic moment. So folks, make sure to stick around for today's entire video because honestly, we have some very interesting topics to talk about today. Now, yesterday afternoon, the Chinese Communist Party held an absolutely massive military parade in order to celebrate the 80-year anniversary of their victory over Japan in World War II. However, as all of you know, it was really the United States who defeated Japan in World War II. That being said, China has decided to take credit for it. Take a look.
China held its largest ever military parade in Beijing on Wednesday, marking 80 years since Japan's defeat at the end of World War II. Chinese President Xi Jinping was flanked by Russia's Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Designed to project China's military might and diplomatic clout, the event was largely shunned by Western leaders due to Putin and Kim's attendance, with the pair considered pariahs in the West due to the Ukraine war and Kim's nuclear ambitions. At the top of the program, Xi addressed a crowd of more than 50,000 spectators at Tiananmen Square in the capital.
The Chinese nation is a great nation that does not fear violence, and that stands independent and strong.
Xi then inspected the troops and cutting-edge military equipment, including hypersonic missiles, underwater drones, and a weaponized robot wolf. Helicopters trailing large banners and fighter jets flew in formation during a 70-minute showcase that culminated in the release of 80,000 peace birds. Seated between Putin and Kim in the viewing gallery, Xi repeatedly engaged in conversations with both leaders during the parade. It marked the first time the trio have appeared together in public.
Now folks, as I said earlier, there is a lot to talk about here, so what do you say we just get right into it? As that report said, yesterday afternoon we saw the single largest military parade that China has ever conducted, and of course, Russia's Putin and North Korea's Kim both showed up to celebrate. Interestingly, despite invitations being sent out, not one single political leader from the Western world decided to attend the event, which really showcases the degree to which President Trump has been able to isolate China on the world's stage. And now, while we're talking about President Trump, I want you all to take a look at what President Trump had to say about China's big event yesterday afternoon as it was unfolding. And like I said, he pretty much went scorched earth. Take a look. The big question to be answered is whether or not President Xi of China will mention the massive amount of support and blood that the United States of America gave to China in order to help secure its freedom from a very unfriendly foreign invader. Many Americans died in China's quest for victory and glory. I hope that they are rightfully honored and remembered for their bravery and sacrifice. May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Like I said, scorched earth. In front of the entire world, President Trump just accused China, Russia, and North Korea of conspiring against the United States. And I mean, is he wrong? For months now, President Trump has been trying to work out a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, whereas China has been directly financing Russia's war effort and North Korea has actually been sending soldiers to the front line. And then, of course, there's all of the other stuff that China has been doing as well. Between all of their predatory economic behavior and their explicitly anti-American geopolitical maneuvers, I think it's fair to say that China is pretty much the United States' #1 adversary. And if you don't believe me, just think about this real quick. Why is President Trump trying to retake the Panama Canal? Because of China. Why does Trump want Greenland? Because of China. Where is all of the fentanyl originally coming from? China. Who's been stealing all of our intellectual property and spying on American universities and American military bases? China. Who's been ripping off the American economy for decades now? China. So you get my point. China is very clearly an adversarial nation to say the least, and President Trump is fully aware. And now, I have to say real quick, it's just so nice to have a leader back in the White House that not only looks out for American interests, but also broadcasts the message of America first out across the entire world. And as a perfect example of that, Trump just put China back in check and reminded them that if America hadn't saved them during World War II, they'd pretty much be controlled by Japan right now. So they can go ahead and have their military parade in which they show off all of the equipment that they had to steal from the United States, but hey, let's not forget who's the top dog here. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and be brutally honest here for a moment. Xi Jinping's military parade is really nothing more than a propaganda stunt meant to distract from the fact that right this very moment, China's economy is in absolute tatters because of President Trump's trade tariffs. Because keep in mind, for months now, President Trump has maintained a flat 30% tariff on every single product coming out of China, and the reason why is because China has been working to subvert and undermine the United States of America for decades now. And so that is why President Trump has decided to finally make them pay for all of the damage they've caused. But now, folks, this is where today's video gets a little bit strange. You see, during China's celebration yesterday afternoon, Xi Jinping and Putin actually had a very curious hot mic moment in which they got caught discussing something that they both probably wish hadn't been broadcast to the public. But before we take a look at that, I do want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. But okay, check this out. I kid you not, but during this hot mic moment, Xi Jinping actually got caught talking to Putin about their plans to effectively try to live forever. And if you don't believe me, here's a full translated discussion. Xi, these days 70 years old and you're still a child. Putin, biotechnology is continuously developing, human organs can be continuously transplanted. The longer you live, the younger you become because you can even achieve immortality. Xi, some predict that in this very century humans may live to be 150 years old. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Not only is China doing everything it can to try to destroy the United States of America very clearly, but now, like I said, they're pretty much also trying to live forever. And how are they going to do that? By continuously transplanting brand new human organs. So like I said, just very strange, bizarre stuff coming out of China right now, to say the least. But you know what? What do you say we refocus back on the geopolitics of all of this for a moment, because that is what President Trump was really talking about with his Truth Social post that we looked at a little bit earlier. During Xi Jinping's speech at this military parade, he very clearly said that China is a nation that's not afraid of using violence and that they will be unstoppable in the pursuit of their goals. And so right now, what is perhaps China's number one goal? Seems to be invading Taiwan. Which is, of course, very problematic because President Trump isn't going to tolerate Chinese expansionism as they look to project themselves out across the Pacific Ocean, closer and closer to America's borders. Which is, by the way, exactly what we've already seen them try to do in Canada, in Greenland, in the Panama Canal, and even here in our own country, because keep in mind, China has been industrially buying up American farmland. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to say, I'm with President Trump on this one. Very clearly, the Chinese threat is real and it needs to be taken seriously, which is exactly what President Trump is doing right now. And you know what? Thank God for that, because that is exactly what needs to happen if we really want to put America first.